So we start today's ecosystem at Cascadia, where Max isn't too fussed about a few young Triceratops being in his river. Maybe he knows they'll just be a lot juicier when they're older. Also at Cascadia, the Utah raptors were starting to mingle amongst the Carnos. And Larry, well, Larry was happy just chilling and lounging around the river, just minding his own business. It wasn't long though before Max was out catching his breakfast as the sun rose upon the island. Now for those who remember, Dom was a fearless little guy, but unfortunately it's that same courage that would get him killed by this Carno. And then literally seconds later, Chunks went straight in for a dryer as well. Chunks absolutely woke up on the wrong side of the bed this morning, and Ancora Plains was a very dangerous place to be because of it. Now it wouldn't be an ecosystem episode if we didn't periodically just check in with Taka, who was absolutely living his best life. And it turned out everybody was out hunting for breakfast this morning because this Spino was also out hunting for his. Over in Blackmire, the Therries were perfectly happy minding their own business. Only a bit later they would have a new neighbour to contend with. For now, the only neighbour they had was this little Dino, who was no trouble to them, but he was perfectly happy just chilling in their swamp. Now I believe there's only two of these guys left, one male, one female, so you never know, there's still hope for another Dino family. And actually, little did this Dino know that it wasn't actually very far from the female Dino. She was occupying a little pond which literally connects the bottom of Ancora Plains with the bottom of Blackmire. Now I don't know who started this fight, but this Utah Raptor was now face to face with Max. And you probably know by now, Max doesn't take too kindly to people in his river. Today, however, Max actually woke up and chose kindness. Or at least for now, anyway. This Utah was so lucky to still be alive that I literally named him Lucky. Max would have his eye on him, and next time he probably wouldn't be so lucky. Now, the young Triceratops, I don't know if they knew how much danger they were in there, but they did eventually start to move away and move a bit further downriver to where the adult Triceratops were. Meanwhile, Bella, however, she was actually the closest to Max that she's ever been. She's come out of Colossus Hollow underneath the big arch, and she's nearly at Max's river. The Pterodactyl had now stopped picking fights that were far too big for him and started hunting something much more his size. When I went back in to check in with Lucky, he actually wasn't looking so good. In fact, his health was now below 15% and it seemed like he was going to die from some unknown disease. A bit further down the river there was another fight for dominance. And this is where Blackmire Swamp gets its new guest, Coco. For now, Coco was happy just hunting this Dryo, but the Theries were definitely keeping an eye on her. The Carnotaurus reign was strong. You had Coco here in Blackmire, you had Carmen and Bosco in the Ancora Plains, and you had Chunks in Cascadia. How long would the Carnos be able to rule, and will they ever be challenged? As for the Brachies, they really were starting to venture out of Colossus Hollow, with a few of them heading down Raptor's Run. These colossal giants absolutely were making this island their own. The Triceratops also had gone pretty untroubled until this point. No one had really ventured down Raptor Run that was capable of giving them any problems. However, talking of problems, there was now a big one in Cascadia Falls, and it comes in the shape of a Tyrannosaurus Rex. Yep, Max wasn't just occupying that one portion of river anymore, he had fully moved into Cascadia. The Psittacosaurus was once the safest dinosaur on this island. There was nobody here but them. They now find themselves in one of the most dangerous places here. When I went back to check on Lucky, he was actually doing much better and he was on the mend. I guess he really was living up to his name. As for Chunks, he had two eyes firmly on Max. He'd never seen anyone that could challenge him before, and it was making him nervous. But then, out of nowhere, for some reason, Chunks decided to start a fight with Lucky. And his luck had run out. Chunks was now bullying other dinosaurs right in front of Max. Down in Shadowleaf Forest, the Stegos were still left to pretty much reign untouched. No predators had made their way down here and the Stegos were thriving. This Anki suddenly found himself looking down the barrel at a Spinosaurus. I think the Spino took him by surprise because he didn't even have a chance to put up a fight. Between the dinosaurs that wander too close and the fish in the river, the Spinosaurus really were thriving in Raptor's Run. But then that's when I noticed Coco was now taking down the Therizzinos as well. Suddenly, nowhere was safe from these guys. This was now Coco's home, and the Theres were just bystanders. Enough was enough. Max had officially had enough of chunks. The Carno reign was down to 3. Meanwhile, Bella was getting desperately hungry and was doing everything she could to try and take down one of the Brachiosaurs. This stubborn T-Rex was so desperate to stay here, she just wasn't able to hunt food. Carno numbers were now down to 3, and Coco in the Blackmire I noticed was also missing a horn. All this fighting and wear and tear is taking its toll. As night fell, the island took a long, hard breath, as the events of the day left the island battered and bruised. The Triceratops, which had gone unbothered until now, found itself the target of this Spinosaurus. With both dinosaurs so large and powerful, just one mistake could leave either of them seriously hurt or worse. But as it ticked on, it was clear that neither were willing to make the final blow. And so eventually, they went their separate ways. The Spino, however, was really starting to feel comfortable in the river, and it wouldn't be too much of a problem that it didn't eat. It does, after all, eat fish, and fish are plentiful. And with Max now in control of Cascadia, it was now Carmen and Chunks that were fighting to see who would get rule over the Ancora Plains. In the end, it was Carmen that came out on top. She'll be the one to get first pickings for all the hunting across the Ancora Plains. Most of the island at this point was starting to settle down at the end of the day. And where most of the island were pretty content, comfortable and well fed, there was one dinosaur that was having a bit harder of a time. Yep, unfortunately Bella was very badly malnourished. All of the prey she'd been trying to hunt were just too big to take down. She was completely unaware that there was a whole island of possibilities out there. She just never ventured further than Colossus Hollow. Her breaths became heavy and she sounded exhausted. She even tried to get up, but immediately she realized she just didn't have the strength to keep going. Honestly, I felt really sad for her when I was playing this, and it took a lot inside me not to play God and to help her out, but I had to just let nature take its course. Max, meanwhile, was completely unaware that his potential future mate had left him forever. I also thought the Utahs had gone, but there was one guy still clinging on to the race. It was honestly as if the whole island had felt the loss. Every subsystem within this ecosystem just seemed to go quiet. But this was after all nature, and dinosaurs need to eat. So gradually things started to go back to normal. And as if that wasn't enough, there was one more big shock. That's right, Coco was picking one too many fights, but this fight would be her last. The Carno rule was getting weaker by the day. They were now down to just 2. So for now, that's all we have time for this ecosystem video, but there will be more. What's going to happen next? Who knows? Stay tuned, subscribe, remember to like, and I will bring you another tale another time.